What's up, guys, and welcome to the Hot Colors Powder Coating YouTube channel. And it's still the surface of the sun, yes. It's hotter than two rats fucking in a wool sock. Why would they be doing that in a wool sock in this heat is what I want to know. I just don't even know. I would drag her by the tail right over to the AC vent. I mean, geez. Anyway, what we got going on here is some Rotoform wheels. And there's something special about these wheels, special, weird, whatever. It has a cap that goes on it that's threaded. There's a nut, let's call it, that holds it on. Let me show you what that looks like. Grab you off the tripod here. Ooh. See that threaded inner diameter right there? There's threads around the inside of this. There's a cap that goes on here that has this. We're powder coating the cap too. But the nut that goes there is like a plastic nut. Well, we can't get powder in those threads or he's gonna have a hard time with that. So as you see, I have the hanging thing sticking out of this is my wheel hanger, sticking out of the center. And you'd think to yourself, well, how are you gonna mask that? That's gotta be masked. Well, I came up with this idea. I have it right here in my pocket. And you see I got some screws on there for handles so I can get them out. Because I don't want those in there when I bake it. Because what happens is, let me tell you what happens. I always say this, but I'm gonna demonstrate it right now. What happens is this plugs in there, right? The powder ramps up between the wheel and the plug, okay? If you just put that in the oven and pull it out and take the plug out, that ramp comes off of the plug when you pull it out, and now it leaves a sharp flashing right there. And I don't want that. I don't know how far it recorded. It turned off and said it was repairing the file. It was a piece of shit GoPro. But as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by this electronic turd was, this had some rash on it. You know, it's probably from the heat, you know, heat rash. Couldn't be from the curb in the drive-thru. Not with a girl driving it, no way. So I went around and smoothed it on both of them. You know, I did both lips just to make sure the back ones were perfect, believe it or not. The front ones weren't bad. They just had a little boogeriness to them. And we fixed that up. You can still see a little bit of it right there if you look closely, but that's the best I can do. I can't really fill it in. I can only take the highs off. And you really want to do that because here comes the tire machine and that wing is sticking up, schmack, knocks it off, and now you have a bare spot. And if it's a black wheel, oh man. So take a guess on what color these are going. If you guess stone black, you'd be wrong, but if you watch the channel, you'd be like, yeah, I'd guess stone black, but it's another color that we've done 100 times on here, unfortunately, and that is gonna be polar white. So we're gonna do these in polar white. I'm gonna blow them off one more again, get them in the oven and heat them up, and these are definitely gonna be sprayed hot. Look at all this is just gonna be a kind of deep lug holes. The lug holes aren't too deep, but we're gonna put some heat in it. The other thing it's a bare, I missed that. You see that little booger right there, down there? I wanna sand that off. You don't wanna have that if you don't have to have it. There's another little bit right there. I need a little bit more attention to these before I go to them. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm glad I noticed that. And we'll be able to powder coat these up white, hopefully. We're gonna double coat them, and I'll show you most of that process. And we'll be back here with it here in a little while. All right, guys, it is the next day. I had a little bit of a disaster yesterday. I went to start my little oven and it started and then it stopped. And I was like, well, what's going on? So I went over there to look at it and the combustion fan stopped, which is bad. So that, you know, shut the whole oven down, and I could not get the fan fixed yesterday. As a matter of fact, there's no fixing that fan motor. It is done. So I ordered another one from Power Flame, and today we are using the big monstrosity oven. So we're using an oven that's 10 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and 25 feet deep for these two wheels. Yay, that's great, isn't it? All right, we're doing polar white today. And I'm gonna do the same thing I always do. I'm gonna start at the bottom. Start on the bottom, and actually we're gonna do some lug hole action up here. Try to make sure that we get down in them holes. I have the gun down a little bit from where I would normally spray at, just so that we can load powder where we need it. And these things are going to be hard in some spots. My light hat on. And we're just going to go in here and just put a quick coat on everything. We're not really looking to make a masterpiece right now. You just want to make them white. Whiten them up. Or whatever color you're doing. If you're doing them black and you're whitening them up, that's going to be a problem. Just to say, I mean, usually when the customer wants something white and you do it black, that's an issue. But, you know, maybe not all the time. Definitely want to do it the color that he wants. You know, I want to take a minute to talk about oven safeties. What I mean by that is there's a lot of built-in safety mechanisms on an oven, okay? And most of them are what are called air-proving switches. And what they do is they prove airflow. Basically, they're proving that the fan is running, okay? And when the pressure goes away and the proof of closure switch, or the, not proof of closure switch, the airflow switch closes and it shuts the oven down. I would have had a real disaster yesterday if the safeties on my oven were not working properly, because I was not watching it. I just happened to notice that it wasn't running, it wasn't heating. And when I went over there and checked it out, I noticed that the combustion fan wasn't running, and that it was, the combustion fan was hot, boy. I mean, you probably couldn't lay your hand on it more than 2 seconds at a time. It was hot. So that wasn't good. I thought it was the cap, tried to change the cap to no avail. Put a new cap on it and ran it in the vise. Just clamped the motor in the vise and ran it, and it overheated within a minute and a half. So I ordered another one. Who knows how long that's going to take. This big monstrosity of an oven's going to milk my wallet till it's to no end. It takes about probably twice, if not 3 times the gas that the little one does. That's why I like having a little oven. It's efficient. If you don't need all the space, why heat up the space? It's just kind of the way I look at it. But I did have the little oven first, and then I had a friend of mine that owned a fire suppression company, and he wanted to do fire suppression pipe for the cave. So I started looking around, and I found that oven in Jacksonville. I'm in Cocoa, so I wasn't too far away, and we went up there and took it down, and that was that. All right, so I'm going to go around now that I got the top pretty much cut. I'm going to go around and do my points here. When I say points, I mean the little areas in between. Oh, I touched that wheel. Not good. I need to separate them a little more or pay better attention, either one. These are a little bit of a challenging wheel to spray, man. They got returns and they got, I mean, man. Go around and get all the points and make sure you're getting all of that. I think instead of elbowing that, I'm gonna go around the corner here. Wow, that return, boy. I told the guy this was gonna be a challenge. Not too bad though. I mean, I'm gonna be able to get it, but it's a challenge, nevertheless. All right, I think I'm gonna hold that. I mean, that's a pretty good coat. It may not be totally and completely covered, but On the first coat, you're better to air light than you are heavy. It's very hard to take it off once you put it on there. You know, you can always put more on. To get it off there, you got to sand it, or strip it, and that's like starting over, which is really not what you want to do. I mean, if you're doing this in your home garage on your own wheels or, you know, whatever, starting over is not the worst thing. But when you're trying to make a living doing this, starting over is not ideal. Just slap yourself on the wallet and go about your day, I guess. That's why it's really important to make sure that you're taking the steps and you're going through all the steps on every piece, because you know, you cut corners on it, you know, you had a square and then you cut enough corners off of it and you got a circle. So it's kind of important to do it. If you notice, if you're watching in my videos, I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over for the most part. You know what I mean? I'm not doing anything different. It's a piece of metal and I prep and work it the same way every time. All right, so I think we're gonna go with that. That didn't take too long to, a pretty good hot coat. Speaking of hot, woo. Yeah, well, and then you remember yesterday? This was yesterday, believe it or not, this is a whole new day. I made these plugs. Let's see how that worked. Oh, that ain't worth a shit. Oh yeah, it is. You just got to tug on them pretty hard. That worried me there for a second. Ooh, and the screws are hot. But that's it. We got those pulled out. Let me give you a little look real quick. Oh, you're on a magnet. You're hard to get off. See how we got the middle? Nice clean line. No booger boo on the threads. Same way over here. You notice how it all melted? It's not as smooth as it'll be when it comes out of the oven because it'll flow. But and it's not even melted here. But that gives you an idea what they look like before they go in. And I'm down in the letters. See there? That's good. We want to make sure that you're down in there. Yeah, we might want to put another pass on that one before we put it in. I think we're going to do that. Stick another pass on it, and that on the logo. There's another tip. Powder coating guns are siphon feed. When you got something hot, don't point the gun at it and pull the trigger, because if it loads the powder up, now you got it all over your part. If you put it out here, let it start flowing, do your thing. See how that works? That's tip of the day right there. That'll save you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes, not very long, and pull it out and let it cool. All right, boys and girls of the YouTube world, it is showtime. So I went over these and make sure there's no little pecks or whatever, to make sure that they come out as good as they can. That's why I like doing it this way. I like to put the first coat on, bake it, flow it, what's on my feet, damn it. And then it allows me to smooth out the rash a little bit. I've sanded that a little here. It just allows me to fine tune the wheel for the final coat, if that makes any sense. It's one of the ways that I achieve the quality that I do. All right, so it's time to stop jabbering. Well, it's not, I can still jabber. I just need to have the gun in my hand while I'm doing it. Otherwise, I might have to fire myself. All right, we're at 45 kV. We've been 45 kV both coats. Whites are notoriously hard to charge, so you got to kind of whack them a little bit with a little bit of power. And that's what we're doing. We're whacking it. So 45 kV is actually high for a second coat for me. I very rarely run it that high, usually drop in the 30 kV range on the second coat. But if you drop white to 30 kV, it'll bounce off the part and fall on the floor. It's like, I ain't doing it. So you have to crank it up to get it to go. At least with my system in real. I don't know, yours might be different. You might be able to turn it down still. But I don't have problems with back ionization, none of that. Now, if you're gonna have the gun up 45 kV, you gotta have good gun etiquette. You know, you just can't really stop in one spot or none of that. You have to keep the gun moving. You have to maintain a little bit of a distance. You know, I mean, 8 inches or so is pushing it if you're moving, you know? You get it 8 inches away and you're still, man, look here. Come on, come on. No. No, no, and no. You go bye-bye. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is I got this return. Basically the wheel, the lip of the wheel goes like this and then it goes out and then the spoke. So you want to try to get that from down here and not from the top, because what'll happen is you'll be concentrating on trying to get that and you'll back ionize the face. Which, if you're gonna back ionize something, don't do the face. Back ionize the bottom of it. You know what I mean? So I can look from here now and I can see around that lip, I got that all the way around. And that's really what you want to do, that return. If your wheel has a return in it, you know, where basically from the inside, that drum goes up like this and then it turns in and then it hooks back, and that's the back of the spokes. That little hook back is what I'm talking about when I say return. And man, looky here. You guys pay special attention to that while you're down here. I mean, you don't want to mess up the pretty side. I mean, the side that's supposed to be pretty. You don't want to mess any of it up. All right? Let's just start with that. But if you're going to take a chance and you have to hammer it in somewhere, you know, why would you take the chance on doing it on the side that shows? Sometimes the strategy and the order and the way that you go about shooting it is like 50% of it coming out decent or not, you know? That's why I always start on the bottom, you know? And the reason why I do that is because it comes through. It gets, I mean, these are essentially almost powder coated on the top, you know? I mean, and now all I got to do is go through here and get rid of the shine. And we done. I'm going to go around here and make sure we check them lug nuts good. And then what I like to do is go around and make sure that I get the corners of the spokes. You don't want to leave those light or nothing, because it can be grainy if you do that. The powder will be grainy because there's not enough mill thickness for it to flow smooth. So if you want it smooth and glassy, you're better to err on the side of a little bit too much than not enough. Not enough, you're walking a fine line. You know, and generally I use the can I see shine through it technique, okay? And that's, if you can't see through it, that's a pretty tight coat, okay? It's what I mean is it's not necessarily heavy, but it's pretty tight. And then what I do is I'll make another quick pass over it just to kind of give it a little bit more so that it's able to flow. Any places that you see that are shiny will be grainy when you put it in the oven. No stopping it, because there's just not enough material to, you got to think, you got a dot of material, a dot of material, a dot of material, not enough to connect and flow. It ain't gonna do it. All right, we want to make sure we don't have any spittle. That's important on the last coat. You got to always check for spittle. We're going to shoot this in the same order. We're going to go inside, make sure we dial up them lug nuts. That's a pet peeve of mine, man. I just don't like to look down in the lug nut hole and see bare metal. And you got to plan for that from the beginning. Generally, if the lug nut hole's deep, these aren't too bad. These are probably 3/4 of an inch, maybe a little less, a little more, I don't know. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch is about a good estimate. You got to pay attention and plan that first, okay? When you look at the wheel and you say, okay, I was talking about strategy, right? How you go about shooting it. You look at it and say, okay, I'm going to have this hot. I want to pay attention to the lug holes first. And generally what I do is I turn the overall airflow to the gun down. I'm using a Nordson and it's on smart flow or whatever that is. So I can just turn the overall airflow down and my ratio is the same. So all it does is turn the powder flow down. It works pretty darn good. So I just turn it down a couple of notches overall airflow, and then I let it eat so that I don't overdo the lug nut holes. It's the same thing. You're trying to get inside the hole, right? And you're beating the rim to death. Okay? So if you turn the powder down, you don't deposit as much on the rim. You don't really put as much in the hole either, but there's not as much on the rim. You know? That don't sound good. You want to deposit it in the hole instead of on the rim? All right, whatever. This is a PG rated show. Well, it's not PG rated. It's rated something. It's S rated. It's rated stupid is what it is. But if you want to learn how to powder coat, I've been doing this for a minute and I have pretty good success. Oh, what are we doing here? You got to go. This is where, looking is everything. Because you want this bitch to look like a marshmallow, just like it looks. You don't want to see any shiny, you don't want to see any of that. So, remember how I told you I use a marker, like the valve stem hole, whatever? Well, this happens to say Rotoform on the, or Rotiform on the face of it. We're going to use that as a marker, right? And I'm going to go around just to make sure I got the edges of the spokes, the corner of the spoke. That's another important thing. And I generally go both ways when I do it, so I get both sides of the spoke. They're pretty well covered, but when I did the, let's see, what you don't know is the other set sitting over there done. And when I did that set and I inspected them with the light, I noticed they were just, ever so slightly needed a little more. So we're just going to do it ahead of time so that when I inspect it, I don't have to put more on it. That's what you do. You learn stuff from the first set that you apply to the second set and you're done. In case you're wondering why there's only 2 on a cart and I don't put 4, and my ovens, these 2 things are going in the oven that's 10 feet wide, 8 feet tall, and 25 feet deep because my little oven is broken. So, but if you're wondering why I don't put 4 of them on here, it's because when I spray them hot, they don't stay hot long enough. So let's say I sprayed these 2 hot, that would be hotter. More would go on, let's say more would go on them. I'll be able to get a slicker hot coat on them. And then as I go to the second 2, they're slowing down, so they're not going to be the same. You understand what I'm saying? You're doing them 2 different ways. You did 2 of them hot and 2 of them piss warm. So that's, to me, I like to have everything as close to the same as I can get it. And that's why you'll see me on the hot coat, I will jump from under here to under here, to the top, to the top, to the barrel, to the barrel. That's how I do it. It's because what I'm doing in my mind is trying to keep everything even as far as temperature goes, so they all look the same. On solid tones, it doesn't matter so much. On metallics, man, it'll bite you right in the ass. So just get in the habit of doing everything the same way. It doesn't matter if it's a solid tone. Practice. If you do it all the same, it's muscle memory, and it'll just work every time, just like you want it to. All right, so here we go. We are going to pull our things. Woo! Look at that! Oh, split, plug, screw handles worked out perfectly. Worked great. I'm going to put those in the drawer and save them. Woo! We're gonna be nice and smooth on that inside lip there. Oh, they're gonna be just as beautiful. Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, they are nice, man. God. And I honestly do not prefer doing white. And the reason why I don't prefer it is because it's hard to see on the second coat. It's hard to see anytime, but it's hard to see on the second coat. And what I do when it's hard to see is what you just saw happen. See them lights go out and we going around here in the dark? Hope y'all ain't scared of the dark. But yeah, it's a way to do it. You want to do whatever you got to do right now to make sure that you're getting paid for this, because this is it. This is the money shot right here. This is it. When they bake and come out, that's it. It's time to get paid. So you want to make sure that you inspect them well. It's very important. And also in this light, I can see the fuzziness that it has and a little bit of, it's got a little meat to it as far as the heaviness of it. I mean, it's not overly heavy, but I can tell that it's, oh man, what's that? All right, it was able to move, but I'm gonna have to touchy. And sometimes you will see things in the dark that you don't see when the lights are on. As dumb as that sounds. I guess the shadows are different or whatever. There was a little piece of poo laying right on that spoke, right on the face of it. Would have been aggravating me, boy, if I would have baked that. That's why it's very important just to go around and look. Take your time. This is the part that, you know, if you bake a piece of trash on top of this, you got to look at it forever if it's your part, you know, or your customer has to look at it forever. So let's try not to do that. That's, you know, if we can just inspect and eliminate that, then man, by all means, how long did that take? I walked around it. Now I'm absolutely sure that them are covered. I should probably, just for giggles, I'll do the inside too, just to be thorough. Oh yeah, she marshmallowed up. That's nice. Yep. So that's kind of what you want to do. You want to make sure you look at them good, because man, what do you do if you put it in there? It's got a light spot on it. Now you got to redo it or sand or, you know. Well, I could just be wrapping them up, calling the customer and getting cashed out. Nah, you don't want to do it. All right, well, that's the shot of that. I will show you them when they get done baking, and we'll do some glamour shots, and that'll be that. All right, I appreciate you guys watching, and all right, I appreciate it.